Okay, she stopped playing. Okay, we are live. We should be live. We are live. We are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are live. We had a little technical. Well, I had some technical difficulties. Everybody else was good. So we are live. As you come in, I ask that you let us know where you're joining us from. Share this out. Share, share, share. Like. Let me just log into my Facebook so I can share it. And then I am going to also, I want to share it over in the Wife After Prison private Facebook group. When you guys come in, let us know where you are joining us from. We got a hot topic tonight. Yeah, it's a topic that it's always discussed in the private group, but nobody really understands. So you guys come on in, share, 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 like. And let me tell you something. I know in that prison wife community, this is a common issue for a lot of wives. But when we're talking about tonight, it's not just pertaining to intimate relationships. It's also returning to pertaining to relationships with your mom, just knowing how to love and accept love. So this is a conversation for everybody. I ask that you guys share this out, tag your home girl, your home boy, whoever, tag them in, because I have two guys that I have. One of them I have kind of just been watching from afar, but both of them are on LinkedIn. So, and just tag somebody. We're going to get to talking in a minute. I need to share that because I know it's going to be good. Okay, let me share this. So Mataka is unable to join us tonight, but he hates to miss it, but he had some other stuff he had to take care of. So let me share this out in the private group. I'm going to share it everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to share it also in my private group. There we go. All right, here we go. So again, y'all, welcome to our monthly live. Again, y'all, welcome to our. Okay, I got an echo.
That was me. I had to turn my turn on my Facebook page.
Okay. Yeah. So welcome. I see you, Consuelo, out of California. Welcome. You guys share this out. Like I said before, there are so many prison wives groups. I think there is a group for every prison in every state. And I know somebody, somebody. Hi, Denise from North Carolina. You guys know somebody that needs to hear what these guys are going to share tonight. And the reason why I chose these guys is because I've had conversation with them. I've been on LinkedIn. When I post, they are all always commenting, like keep talking about the subject. And the thing I love about the both of them is that they are open. They're open and they're very transparent, and that's what we need. We need to understand. We really need to understand our loved ones when they come home and how prison has affected them. And this topic that we're going to talk about tonight, it stemmed from something Andrew said some months ago. And I mean, it just keeps ringing in my head like how we love them may not feel good to them. And women, y'all know how we love, and I get it. He said it feels incarcerating, it feels like, like so many of them say, you ain't the warden or whatever. So anyway, guys, we're going to have this conversation. I'm not going to delay. I'm going to allow the both of them to introduce themselves, tell about your time in prison, how long you've been home, and then we're going to get into the juicy stuff. All right, so Andrew, you want to take it away?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrew Glass. My Swahili name is Adero. I did 26 years and 8 months in the Department of Corrections in the state of Missouri. I've been home 10 and a half years now, working with the Fathers and Family Support Center of St. Louis, basically helping young men or helping men build relationships and to deal with other social issues that they are going through. And I met Miss Bruno through a friend of mine's, Mr. Mataka. So I thank him all the time for introducing me to her, and we're gonna get this stuff together because a lot of my associates are friends from incarceration. We all have been through the same thing. Relationships hasn't lasted, and it's been the same thing throughout. Um, the reason why in all of the relationships there's a one line that's the same through all these things that why the relationship doesn't last. So we'll be talking about that this evening.
All right.
Yeah, and I'm Tito Guerrero. I did 12 years in California. I originally was sentenced to second degree murder, 15 to life. Grace of God, whatever you want to call it. 5 years into it, it got overturned, and I took a plea agreement for 14. So I was fortunate enough to get out. Since being out, I've been out 14 years now. I've bounced around from California to Texas to Indiana, back to Texas to California. Now I'm in Illinois. Uh, been working all over the place, mainly nonprofits, Goodwill for most of the time because they gave me a chance when I got out and I made it up to the executive level there. I opened a transitional house in California that's still up and running, even though I don't have anything to do with it because I'm not there. But there's some people that aren't homeless and aren't in prison because of it. So I'm very proud of that. And yeah, I've had plenty of bad relationships. I'm married now, been married for a minute, so I'm happy. My wife and daughter upstairs, but yeah, man, let's get into it.
All right, thank you so much. And guys, you know what? Yeah, I say this all the time because sometimes we just sit back and we just wait for them to come home. But it's so important. And when I say know what you're dealing with, I'm not talking about you're calling your loved one an it. I'm talking about the issues that comes with the prison sentence, right? So I'm going to just share three things. We're talking about love and how it makes them feel comfortable and why. I remember Kevin said to me, when we were going through this stuff, I had no knowledge. All I know was, he had changed on me. And I didn't know why, walking on eggshells, because, at the drop of a dime, he would go out, he would go off. And I said one time, and I was in the room and I just screamed, "Do you not want the marriage?" And he hollered back, "Sheila, it's not about you." Right? And so that gave me a little inkling on something, but I still didn't know what it was about, right? Later on, come to find out that it was the trauma and all of that. And I say this all of the time that we cannot take trauma off the table when we're talking about reentry. We can't take it off the table because what some of you see in your loved one is a trauma response. It's a trauma response, and you think it's about you, but he just really it's a trauma response. Another thing is a guy who he did 20 something years, and he had been out 3 years, and he said one day his wife just said, "Hey, can we talk?" And he said that she set him down and she told him about how aggressive he was. He said, and I didn't realize this. He said, she sat me down and told me that my behavior and the way that I respond was very aggressive. And so he said he had to take a look at that. So what she was seeing was a trauma response. And then there was another gentleman that reached out to me. He said, I think he did 9 years in solitary confinement. And he called me and he said, "I need help." He said, my lady friend doesn't understand. He said, I don't feel anything. He said, I have no emotions whatsoever. And she thinks that it's her, but it's not her, it's me. Right? So this is what we're going to have this conversation about when loving them don't feel good. Right? When loving them, and y'all know how we love sister. Baby, what's wrong? Baby, baby, you ain't talking. But y'all know how we do it. Right? So this is why I want you guys to get it. And sometimes you want to wait till he get home. When he get home, it may be too late. The same response that you're getting in the day room or the visitation room, it may not be the same response when you get home. Right? So I want you guys to really, really just open up your ears, open up your head, and realize. And lastly, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to let these guys do it. Like I said, we can't take trauma off of the table, right? And a lady told me once before, she asked, she said, is post incarceration syndrome in the DSM 5? No, it's not. But just because it's not in a manual doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. I know I have a brain, but I don't see it. So does that my brain not exist, right? So we ain't gonna be closed-minded about this. And one thing about it is when you have suffered some type of trauma, it does something to your brain. It does something to your brain, right? So if you take a person that has experienced some trauma, right? And it just depends on how how they dealt with it. And a person that has not or has had minimal trauma in their life, their brain structure is different. It's different. It's like the trauma eats away parts of the brain or shuts down parts of the brain. When we see, say, oh, he acts like a kid. He acts like he's 17 years old. We're talking about the arrested development, right? Because arrested development would cause some type of, I don't want to call it a defect or whatever, but it does affect the brain. So while y'all waiting on your loved ones to come home, you got to educate yourself. If your loved one is home, like I say, you got to know what you're dealing with. And so I'm gonna stop talking. And Andrew, you brought up the conversation. You brought up the topic, so I'm gonna let you go because we need to know why. And then lastly, we need to know how to love y'all. Yeah,
Um, one of again, good evening, everyone. One thing is expectations between the couples. The expectations between the couples has to be set when when one of the individuals is incarcerated and the other one is on the other side of the fence. Usually the man is incarcerated. In his mind, he's thinking, "Oh, I'm finna come home. When I come home, I'm gonna give me some different food. I get to go out and have fun, things like that, right? So I'm going to be free." The woman in her mindset is, "Oh, my boo finna come home. We're gonna be together. We're gonna do everything together. We get to hang out together and everything else." And that is not the same. So when they come home, here it is. She wants to do everything with him because she's just interested in his every social day. But now that starts to feel restricting. That starts to feel like you're my PO, like you PO me, like you want to go everywhere I go. You want to know every place I've been. You know what I'm saying? And usually, and in the guy's mind, he's not realizing that she's just actually asking him how his day went. But that sounds like, what are you doing? Or who was you with today, babe?
I'm
Why
sorry.
you why you worried about that? Like, so those types of questions like where, when, who, those are questions of interrogation that is done by the police or correctional officers. So that in turns now start to put a wall of like, man, who she thinks she is? You my woman or you my wife? You not my PO. So again, expectations has to be talked about when coming home. That's one of my experiences that it felt restricting everywhere I went. What did you do today? Oh, where was you at? Who was you with? In my mind, like, what does that matter?
Point. in your mind.
in my mind. Well,
In your mind.
she's just asking me about my day.
Yeah, she just asked about it. So in your mind, you're thinking, because look, y'all can go call me the trauma doctor after a while. In his mind, he is thinking that she's interrogating him, and she's really not. But again, that's how his mind has been programmed. And so it has to be reprogrammed that she's not interrogating me. It's a mindset thing. She's not interrogating you, right? So, okay, come on, Mr. Tito, tell what you.
Yeah, no, and I echo all that, and I will say in my total time, I had opportunities to quote unquote date, and I chose not to because I saw what it did on both sides of that fence. So I like did not want to have anything to do with anyone until they let me out the gate. But I will say once I got out, yeah, it's a mindset of, when you're inside, you're always looking, why are you trying to offer me something or ask me something? There's something behind it, whether it's from a guard or is from another inmate. Is what's your angle? What are you trying to get? What's in it for you? Why are you even bothering me about anything? And it was the same dating. And I mean, I'll even say with my wife for a while, she would have a different account to pay bills, and I'd be like, "Well, what are you putting money in there for? What's that? What's going on with that? Was it why would you need another account? That doesn't make any sense. What are you doing with the money?" Like, and it's funny because now we laugh about it, but yeah, it took years for me to get used to, like, we're together, like it's okay. But it also took years for me to just be able to say, like, this is why I feel this way. And I think also for her in meeting, I mean, all of my best friends are, ex-felons, gangbangers, killers, the whole nine. And with her being able to like kind of fellowship with them and hear their wives and girlfriend stories, she's like, oh, I kind of get it now. And I'm like, yeah, like we're always looking for what's going on and why it's going on, whether it's at work, whether it's in our relationships. We're walking down the street. If I see someone looking down and not looking me in the eye, I'm like, what are you about to do? And it's the same with relationships. It's always like, what is that goal you're trying to do, and are you trying to work me or control me or put me in a corner? So yeah, it's that defensiveness, and I hate it. And 14 years out, I still do it to this day, and that goes for any relationships out, even outside of my marriage. So
So this is very common. I hear it a lot. And I remember one gentleman said, Miss Bruno, when I get out of here, I ain't gonna date for 5 years. I don't think he was out 5 days. Well, at least 5 months. And he had gotten into a relationship and having been locked up for so long and never really had an adult relationship. It was an amount of time that, he was talking about committing suicide.
Yes.
He was
hmm
talking because he couldn't deal. He done gave this woman his heart, and he don't know how. Some of what she was asking seemed to be very controlling, seemed to be suffocating him or whatever. But here it is. He had given his heart. He said he fell in love, but then he could not handle when she said, "I can't deal with this." She said, I can't deal with this and I can't live like this. And so when she was, breaking it off with him, and thank God it didn't happen, but he attempted suicide. Now I want to ask you guys something, Andrew and Tito, now. Because I mean, we always we want to support you guys, but sometimes supporting can be draining, and it can be psychologically abusing because we want to support you guys, but we don't know how. Kevin told. I mean, when I was like really, really just depressed and all of this, he said he one day, one day he looked at me and he said, loving a brother that's been to prison kind of hard. And I was like, yes, because we do all that we know how to do. And so this is my thing. Without giving you guys so much, I won't call it control, but giving you guys so much of ourselves. How can we support you guys at the same time? What are you guys doing to change your mindset and your thinking that, okay, she ain't trying to control me. She just asking me how my day went. A normal conversation. What is something that we can do? And what is something that you guys did? Tito, what is something you did? Andrew say it's still feel a little suffocating to him. So Tito, what is something that you did to move away from that space of her you thinking she's trying to control you? And what is something that you did? What was the mindset shift?
I'll say it's still a little bit there, but it's the communication, like just flat out saying it. Like if I think something, just say it. Like it doesn't matter if it causes some tension for a minute, but it's usually tension for a hot second, then it goes away because we just talk about it, right? Um, but it's never easy, and I'll tell you, it's funny because what you were just talking about with the suicide, like I think a lot of people don't understand with us too is that we don't always necessarily feel like men all the way, right? Because we went from a situation, and I used to go into San Quentin and speak, and I tell guys, you guys got it better in here because you ain't got to worry about if you lose your job, the lights get cut off, you get kicked out. Like you always going to be taken care of whether you like it or not. How it is, right? And I was like, you get out here, you got 28 distractions, you got these stupid boxes that link you to everything that distract you all day. Like it's hard, right? But one thing I've noticed that hurts me more than anything is when my ability or the way I take care of my family is ever questioned. Because I'm like, I done busted my behind to get where I'm at and to be able to have what I have and do what I do. So if you question it in the slightest, it like clicks in my head like, man, I'll give you all this. Just leave me the hell alone because I can rebuild. I've been to the hole plenty of times and got all my property back and did what I had to do. Like you don't think I can do that out here? I will restart and reset like in a heartbeat. And I don't like that because that's not what it's about anymore, right? But that is still it sits there 14 years later. It's still in the back of my head. I'm just like, whatever. Like, like don't question how I do things or what I do. And when I ask you why you want to buy this or do that, like, and it clicks. But it's kind of it's that exact same mindset, like you said when you were talking about the suicide. It's just it's there, and it's like, how do you deal with it? Like, hey, when I start questioning, just be calm and hey, no, it's not about that. And then I'm like, oh, okay, all right, because you triggered me there, and like, and I mean, this is how I go to work. I'm dressed up in a suit every day. You know what I mean? And I'm like, but and people, I don't have not one tattoo. Like every time someone hears I was in prison, they're like, "You?" And I'm like, "Yeah." and then I'm like, but don't get it twisted. Like, yeah, I was a dummy back in the day. I'm not anymore, but it sits in the back of my head, And every once in a while, it rears its head, and I'm always like the next day, like, let me go meditate, let me go jog, let me go do something, try and clear my head. But it's there, right? Like it's always
So
going to
let,
be there.
so let me ask you this. So a lot of the ladies who are listening now, we are, I get the DMs. I'm losing myself. I'm walking on eggshells, and I can't do this. This is hard. Did your wife ever have? Did she ever experience any of that?
Uh, she probably still does. I drag her down here, let her tell you. But no, I mean, I think it's more the other way around because like I'll shut down, and that's what she would probably tell you. Like she'll ask me like, "Hey, what's wrong? Like, what are you going through?" And I'm like, "None. I'm good." She's like, "Okay, I'm gonna ask you one more time," and I'm like, "I'm good." And she knows I'm not, and I know I'm not, but she'll give me my space, and then like later on, I might come down and be like, "Yeah, man, I was going through it. Like so and so did this, or you said that," and yeah,
Yeah. So the fight, flight, or freeze response.
yeah. But a
Exactly.
lot of
That's
times it's I don't want to. It's just like in prison, like any of the brothers and sisters that have been in prison and got visits. No, like you don't want to burn those bridges to where you don't get your visits, you don't get your packages, you don't get all your stuff that you need, right, or that you enjoy. And you also get to a point, and I heard you talk about this on one of your lives, that 5 year mark. I had old Sally tell me 5 years to 7 years. 5 years is going to feel like you just got to prison. 7 years, you're going to make a decision whether you're going to change or just be a knucklehead the rest of your time. And them numbers ring true to me to this day. But it's kind of like you just got to get to that point where you make a decision and say, like, I'm gonna at least try. And I think for us the biggest thing is understanding when we fall in those pits, because otherwise, like, I know guys have gone back in because they let something get to them too much, and next thing you know they done hit somebody or they run out and drink and drive, and oh man, I got a DUI, I got a 12-month violation. Like, for
Yeah.
what? Because you had an argument, or because you didn't want to explain yourself, or what? Like, it's not worth it. It's just,
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah. So Andrew, let me ask you this because uh so a lady reached out. He is physically abusive. He is verbally abusive. She is afraid. She is afraid. She doesn't want to her family to split. But she's afraid for her life. What would you say to her?
Uh, First is that fear is real, and if she's feeling that way, she's feeling that way. So I would advise her to reach out to a better women's shelter so she can come up with an exit plan because those situations can get dangerous. So to come up with an exit plan, then when she comes up with an exit plan, to follow through with the exit plan, and then don't allow her heart to reach back after she's been gone a few days. Be like, you know what? Maybe I was tripping. Then reach back out to this
Yeah.
person and disclose her location or go
Mhm.
back
Yep.
because now it's going to be more dangerous. If he's already abusive, it's going to get more abusive. Abusers don't ease up; they get worse.
Wow.
You
Agreed.
know what I'm saying? So again, seek seek safety first and foremost.
Yeah.
Um, so that what I tell my daughter. I tell my aunts and other female cousins them. First of all, do that. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to come up with a plan. Because the restraining order is just a piece of paper.
Mhm.
It's been a lot of bloodshed on restraining orders. So first
Mhm.
and foremost, go to a shelter because they have the experience of how to come up with the exit plan and how to get it done. Um, and I see in the comments that Miss Hardy asked, I guess when I was talking in my mind, what was the response? So my response is fight or flight. Either me and my significant other would either argue or I would leave. And neither response is good because there's no communication. As Mr. Guerrero was saying, communication. So if I fight, we're arguing, that's not good communication. And if I'm leave, I'm not communicating either. I had a lady that I was in a relationship with, and she said something that that still that makes me aware of situation where I am. She said, "Babe, I love you. We're just having a disagreement, but you're talking to me like I'm a dude in the streets,
Wow. Wow.
you know." Cause
Wow.
in my life, I've never had a fair fight in my life. So that means in the boxing ring when I was boxing, you could have a referee. It's gonna be some dirty stuff going on. So even when I argue, I fight dirty. So I'm going to take some intimate stuff that you have told me, and I'm going to weaponize it. I'm
So
going to use it against you.
let me ask you this. So that was then. That's not now, huh? That was
No, no, that was then. I've been home 2 years now. I've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of work.
I was just about to say that sounds like some arrested development or stuff like that. But you know what? And I'm going to say this, and let me tell you something. So, for those of you who don't know, Kevin and I were married, and I don't call him my ex-husband. I said he's my friend I used to be married to. And Kevin and I have the best relationship now. I'm always on the phone. Hey, can you do this for me? Da, 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 da. And I just so love him dearly. And Kevin never physically laid a hand on me. He did not. And it was the freeze response. He just shed that. And you're walking around here, you want to talk. I got all of this stuff building up in the inside of me. And so then it started affecting me here. I mean, it affected me so bad. Y'all know I told y'all I was consuming them sleeping pills like they were M&Ms, but it was that freeze response, and I think he did that because he didn't know how to articulate his feelings, right? And so now, Kevin and I, divorced, uh, and I'm okay and he's okay. He said, Sheila, for me, therapy needs to be a lifestyle. And trauma affects people differently. And let me tell you guys, a lady reached out, she said, I hate it. She said, I hate him because she had waited, and what she was seeing, the person that was in the visitation room was not the person who came home. As a matter of fact, when he came home, he didn't stay home. He left her. And so she said, I hate him. And I said, you can't hate him. I said, you gotta forgive him. Because forgiveness ain't for him, it's for you. But I said that to say this. We perish for a lack of knowledge. When I gained the understanding of trauma, I had to go to Kevin and apologize. It's like, I can't be mad at you for what you experienced and how you're dealing with it. I can't be mad at this, brother. It's not for us to say that was then, this is now, get over it. But what I did do, I made a decision for myself. So if you're not willing to go get the help, then I need to go over here. You go over here, you deal with that. If that makes you happy, being alone and da da da, I'm over here. It makes me happy. He's peaceful and I'm peaceful. But I always say, guys, let me tell you something. It's too much information here on this internet for you not to educate yourself. And this is what this platform is about, making sure you understand. You got something, Andrew?
Miss Bruno, I have a relative. She's 29, and she's in a relationship with an incarcerated individual. And me and her talk a lot of times. So he's came home once, and now he's back again on her. And so I tell her all the time, and she always wants to say he this and he that. I say, but what is your part? What is your part in this? Because each individual can look across the table and place blame. And she like, I ain't got no part. I love him. I did this for him. I did that for him. I say, so your part was you did all that with a closed mind. You did all that with a fantasy mind, thinking you done built up a dream, and those dreams are not reality. So I told her, like, you have to test everything or go deeply into everything, because sometimes what you think is love or assistance could be you enabling him, and that's why he continues to make those same choices or continue to make those bad decisions that goes back. So ladies and gentlemen, if you out there, you feel that you are loving them, your love may be enabling it. Your love could be handcuffing him or her to where they can't grow. Once I came out of incarceration, I had a big learning curve to learn. Sometimes you have to let us go to learn, and you have to put things in front of your loved ones, put mentors in front of them. Like, hey, because that's one thing that helped me. I had a mentor, a relationship mentor. I had my uncle who has been in a relationship 55 years. So, hey, if don't nobody else know about relationship, he got to know. So I talked to him a lot about relationships. I had a career mentor. This is my first job in my life. I've done nothing but street stuff. So I had to have somebody to teach me how to be
Yeah.
a good employer, a good employee. So, so again, stop doing so much for your loved one that's coming out of incarceration. You have to allow them to learn like you do a young child, a toddler. We're going to come up, we're going to stumble, we're going to fall down, we're going to get back up. Be there to say, okay, you can do it. Be there for inspiration and motivation, but stop doing everything for guys and young ladies that come out of incarceration.
Yep, and I totally agree because I see that. I buy him this, I buy him this toy, I'll get him this toy, I'll get this, and you still miserable. It's still miserable. And I mean, Kevin told me he said, Sheila, you had me on crutches. He said, and in 3 years, you just snatched them crutches from under me. I did. I took care of everything. He said, baby, I'm gonna do that. Baby, I'm gonna do that.
Mhm.
Right? That's the way I was loving him. Right? And he just didn't, for whatever reason, he offered. But I was this, I got it. Oh, baby, I got it. Don't worry about it. But I
And
was
Miss Bruno,
him.
and Miss Bruno, what a lot of most criminals, majority of criminals are users, right? We are
Mm.
users. So when you start to help us do things for us, what you have done now is pull that scab of usury back out. So now I'm like, oh, she a sucker. Oh, I got her.
Oh,
Oh man, is that easy? So really, like you have, even if that person was changing now, you done opened up that person. It's like giving a drug addict that's trying to get clean some more dope again.
wow. I hope
You know,
y'all paying attention. I hope y'all paying attention. Y'all getting it real. Y'all getting it. Look, y'all getting it from some experts. And if you have any questions, put your questions in the chat for Tito and Andrew or myself, and we will answer these questions, man. This is what it's so about because I see a lot of a guy said when I came home, he said that closet, he said that closet was full of clothes. He said, but it was uncomfortable to him. Now listen at this. He said it was uncomfortable to him after 28 years or something in prison, used to only seeing one color. And he coming there, he got some navy, he got some orange, he got some yellow, he got some blue. And he said that freaked him out.
mhm.
But that's what
I
we do.
I
We're going to,
call it
yeah.
I call that street vertigo, because in prison your senses are dull. Like everything is the same height, everything is the same color. You hear the same sounds all the time. And like literally, like when I came out of incarceration, now I'm over. My senses are overwhelmed.
Hmm.
Now I'm seeing stuff at different heights and depths. Saying different colors, different sounds all at the same time, things like that. And it got overwhelming. It's like, whoa, like what's going on? Even to the point where people I always tell people, like when I was blessed to get put in the program. I got my own apartment free for a year. I didn't have to pay no rent. I didn't have to pay no utilities. One thing they wanted me to do was find a job and save money. So they gave me a head
Nice.
start. But that first night home from incarceration, went through the house, turned off the lights, went in the room, turned off the light, and got in the bed. Then realized, damn, it's dark in here. Like dark. Because in prison, there's always some type of light somewhere. I literally had to go turn on the hall light had my bedroom door cracked so some light could be in there, and people laugh. The next day, I went to Family Dollar trying to find me a nightlight, and wasn't the only
Hmm.
light, only nightlight was in there was a Minnie Mouse nightlight. And I had a Minnie Mouse nightlight in my room, a hard film, just to have some type of illumination in the room because I wasn't used to total darkness.
Wow.
And the first time I had a lady friend stay the night with me. Do you know I got out the bed because I was not used to somebody being next to me? And that's another thing that people need to know. Like they might not want to come to bed. Only time they want to get in the bed is to have sex, and after that, they want to get back out and get back on the couch, and they falling asleep on the couch because you're not used to somebody being next to you in bed. It's uncomfortable. You want to lay on my chest. What? Get off of me! Like I'm not. I'm not used to her that feel like Brillo or feel like Easter egg. You know what I'm saying? Grass on my chest. Like, come on now, like, babe, like.
I want that, but that is so true. And let me tell you something on another note. And Chairman, we kind of touched on your subject about why it feels, controlling. You know, it's a mindset. It's a mindset. It's something that they think about. It's not necessarily you really controlling them, but it's just a mindset deal. And so the guys can touch on that in a minute too. But let me tell you something. I'm going to tell y'all something. So this lady had shared that he had been home for 3 years and they had never been intimate. And she said he slept on the sofa and she slept in the bed. And one day he just told her, the length of time that he spent in solitary confinement, not being, touched or whatever, he just didn't want to be touched. He didn't know how that feel like. It's that social sensory deprivation. When you have not been in a social setting, when you have not had that connection with people, he said the only time that a person ever touched him was when he stuck his hand through the hole so that they can put handcuffs on him when he got ready to leave. So, because I hear it all the time. What about the sex? Why we ain't having it? Because the thing is, for some, the unrealistic expectation is, baby, it's gonna be on and popping, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, whatever, and you be lucky if you get the Thanksgiving piece, right? So that's the mindset. So we have to understand why. And this is so important for me, y'all, because we never consider it. I never considered it. Kevin never considered it. And ignorance can be very, very expensive. It cost us our marriage because we didn't know,
Hmm.
right? So this is why it's so important that I just want to push this information to y'all. Push this information. Now I want to ask you guys this, because there are some who is uncomfortable or don't know how to have the conversation with their loved ones about the psychological effects of prison, right? Because they know they guy gonna say, "Oh, I'm good, I ain't nothing wrong with me." How do they have that conversation with them? Anybody?
I mean, I think it starts with, it's kind of like, one of the hot words nowadays, empathy, right? And it's not sympathy, it's empathy. It's craving understanding of what happened. And what I've told people, because they're like, I don't get why you always want to sit in a corner with your back to the wall. And I'm like, because I need to see everyone. I need to know what's going on. I need to see the exits and the potential threats and the blah blah blah. Like that's still ingrained in my head, right? But it's being open to asking those questions. And I'll tell people, I'm like, think about what's something you're scared of. Oh, I hate spiders. Okay, but if I made fun of you every time you said, "Oh, a spider," you'd be like, "Well, I'm not going to tell you anymore because you're going to make fun of me." And I was like, so when you look at me and go, "Why do you do something like that?" Don't look at me like I'm weird. Ask, like, why do you feel that way? Like, come at me in a way where you want to understand versus you want to criticize or tell me how I feel or why I should feel a different way. And I've come to grips with, trauma doesn't happens in you,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not something you see on the outside. And so it's just like, a battered housewife, you don't necessarily see it unless she's got a bruise on her, but every time you raise your hand and she goes like this, it's a triggered response, right? And we have them too. And it's it if you want to be in those relationships and you want to get those understandings, like, you have to be able to sit down and get in a neutral place, have that common denominator, somewhere where you both feel safe and comfortable, and just talk. And if he doesn't want to talk or she doesn't want to talk, leave them be. Like, wait for the right time. Because I know, even 14 years out, there's times my wife asks me stuff and I'm like, not right now. I need to internalize this for a minute. We can talk later, but not right now. And I think we're at a good place where she's like, okay, let me know.
Wow.
and we talk later.
Yeah, yeah.
And, 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 and,
It takes a lot of patience.
yes, and also, Ms. Bruno, like most men that go to incarceration went in at a young age. It's very seldom that people go in after 30 or, you know what I'm saying, really is between, you know what I'm saying, 30 and under. So a lot of times, a lot of the men have never had a accountable or responsible relationship. So they never had to step up to the plate and account for another person's feelings, for another person's emotions. And another thing is, men in general, those who have been incarcerated and those who have been incarcerated, lack lack a emotional vocabulary. So we don't know how to express how we feel. When our lady asks us, how do you feel, we go on and give them a whole phrase of how we feel, but that is how what we think. Feeling words are one word: happy, sad, anxious, perplexed, confused, things like that. But we say, oh, woo, 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 woo. And then the lady say, how you feel? But I just told you how I feel. But we really didn't express how we feel. We just basically told them a situation. So men have to learn how to learn a emotional vocabulary, and our loved ones have to realize that men don't have a emotional vocabulary, especially coming out of incarceration, where
Mm.
you have to have, quote unquote, I call it the game face on every day. You know what I'm saying? And I'm looking at the comments. People are like, yes, we are institutionalized, because every day you wake up and those doors open, your life is in danger, because you never know what's going to happen. You can be, I've seen somebody get killed while they were on the phone talking to their loved one because they stayed on the phone 5 minutes too long. Somebody get killed because they holding up the shower too long. You at child, like Mr. Guerrero was saying, we have to see everything, so we hyper vigilant. This is a survival skill. So these skills just do not go away when you come home.
Yeah.
So even verbally, even everything is aggressive in prison. We play aggressive in prison. We play cards aggressive. We play dominoes aggressively. We play handball aggressively. Everything is aggressive. I cannot let you get one up on me. Like, you can't. You can't. So even in our relationship, it tends to be like that. So y'all, you know what I'm saying, our loved one has a feeling like, why is he battling me, or why is he fighting me? Why is he being resistant? Because we institutionalize. And so it has to come to a time where patience has to come in, and you have to get the one who come home from incarceration, you have to get them some mentors. You have to allow them to talk to somebody else. Because you, Miss Bruno, if you was my woman, after a while you start to sound like Charlie Brown grandmama. Wah, 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 wah. So a lot of times we need to hear it from somebody else. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying?
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So a
yeah,
lot of times, even in that communication, you think you're communicating, but in his ears, you sounding like Charlie Brown grandma.
yeah. So
You
let me
just
ask.
griping and complaining.
She,
So
Sheila,
this,
can I say something on that real quick?
absolutely,
Just real
absolutely.
quick. Two quick points. So Andrew was just talking about this. So the aggressive thing, because I see some stuff in the comments, y'all got to realize that we're not being aggressive. It's just it's how we learned how to communicate to get our point across and to not look like a punk and all this other stuff, right?
Yep.
So a lot of times when we hear that, oh, you're being aggressive, it actually scares us because we ain't trying to go back on something stupid because someone feels like they were threatened. We just, to us, we're perfectly normal. We ain't doing nothing crazy. Secondly, Andrew touched on this too, which I love, which I think is really good for the women on the call dealing with men coming out of incarceration is we can't show weakness. So when you ask us how we're doing, it's always going to be that word. Oh, I'm good. It's all good. Like I'm fine. And really, we going through it. Like that suicide talk. Like literally, I don't know how many times I've told my wife, and she could probably tell you stories right now. She all in the comments too, by the way. but um, but I don't know how many times I've been like, I'm good, and I literally was like, if I didn't have them to take care of, I just want to go today. Like, let me go today, you know? And
Yeah,
so I just wanted to say that so that people could hear it. I'm sorry. I'm
yeah.
sorry, Miss
No,
Brittany. You
no,
go
no,
ahead.
that's good. And you know what? Like you said, I'm good. I'm good. And those I'm good, they kind of pile up, pack it down. And when it comes out, it doesn't come out pretty. And I'm telling you,
No.
I saw that. I saw that with my friend who I was once married to. Man, let me tell you something. Other other than, me and Kevin going to that, Kevin was an amazing husband. He didn't require much. I didn't cook, and he was good with that. But, baby, you okay? I'm good. Baby, you okay? I'm good. How you doing? I'm good. Baby, one day, all of them I'm goods, it came to a head. And I was like, who is this? But it was just packed down. And my pastor said something the other day, and I was trying to find it because it's so profound. And it was talking about men. It said men are fighting battles we don't know nothing about. They're fighting some things we don't know nothing about, and they're fighting them internally. Let me tell you guys, when we having this conversation like this, no way am I saying that they get a pass for bad behavior. You don't get no pass. You gonna go deal with that, or else, right? Nobody gets a pass for mistreating you or whatever. But I just want you guys. Oh my God. I just want you
Um,
guys
um,
to understand. And let me say this, and Andrew, you take it away. Family members, we look at them and we're on this platform and we're getting educated and all of this, but we have to look at ourselves too. We tend to look since, okay, well, he been to prison, he institutionalized, okay, he got this antisocial personality, okay, that's why he's sitting over there because he got, but we have to be willing to look at ourselves and see what unresolved trauma that triggers us that we hadn't dealt with,
mhm.
right?
Yes.
So, because
Hmm.
I walk around here like I'm all good, and then after a while, I guess some of this stuff starts showing up, and Kevin's like, "You need to go talk to somebody." I'm good. I ain't been to prison. Just dumb. Just dumb. But after a while,
Hmm.
I realized I did need to go and talk to somebody. And when I went
Hmm.
to talk to a therapist, I found out that some of my behavior, some of how I reacted to certain things contributed to his reaction.
Yep.
So again, we educate ourselves, but we have to be real and 100. Like, okay, what triggers me? Okay, guys, go ahead.
Yes, Miss Bruno. I'm looking at this for Miss Cat Marie.
Mhm.
Mr. Guerrero spoke on it earlier. About it says something. He constantly believes that there is something hidden behind it. Like saying most guys who are incarcerated, we are criminals or cons. So most cons look for the con. As we say, what's in it for you? You know what I'm saying? Why are you doing this? What's behind it? So we always looking for the banana in the tailpipe, so to speak. So you know what I'm saying. So it's not anything again. So then at that point, you have to be reassuring. You have to know how to reassure. You know what I'm saying, and show where it makes sense in what you were talking about. Because again, a lot of people coming out of incarceration have not had a responsible or accountable relationship. You know what I'm saying? We had women, but there we weren't like serious. We didn't care how you think of we out here hustling or gang banging or doing whatever we was doing. So now there's an expectation. And also go back to what Ms. Bruno talking about trauma. My father was murdered when I was 4 years old. So I never had a male role model in my life after that. And then my mother really didn't know how to raise a boy. So
Mm.
again, and then and my mother in, you know what I'm saying, different relationships before she got married, again, like most of us that come out of incarceration have mama and daddy issues. So again, if I have never seen a healthy relationship in my life, how can I have a healthy relationship? Because I have no life reference to a healthy relationship. Most of the guys that you all, I'm gonna say most of the guys because most of the ladies, um, you are dealing with men who come out of alcoholic homes, who come out of drug infested home, addicted homes, or who they grew up gang banging from day one because their parents were gang banging and their neighborhoods were gang banging, and so you know who were robbers, thieves, hustlers, killers, and all that. And so again, you're in a relationship with somebody that was raised in a jungle, that was raised in an uncivilized situation, and now you expect them to be civilized when they know nothing but being a beast, for lack of a better word.
And let me say something. I had a call. I talked to somebody yesterday. He did a lot of time, and I saw one of his Facebook posts. It's someone I had met on the inside, and I saw his Facebook post, and I called him. I said, "Hey, what's going on?" He said, "Miss Bruno," he said, "I'm struggling." He said, "I'm struggling." He said, "And for so long, I've been walking around suffering in silence." He said, "I've been thinking about doing some things." Yeah. And I was
Mhm.
like, well, we got to get you somebody to talk to. And so I connected him. But so many times, guys, what we're seeing in that behavior that's coming out, but how long had they been suffering in silence? And it's now coming to a head. So Andrew, Tito, did you ever see somebody, or was it just a peer to peer mentor type thing? Did you ever get any counseling or anything? Yeah.
Um, for me, I was blessed to acquire the position that I'm in now, where we have therapists at my job. So they became my friends. So basically, I got free therapy. So I use them. I use
Yeah.
my coworkers. You know what I'm saying? Who you know what I'm saying? One of my coworkers is on the Missouri Psychological Credentialing Board. You know what I'm saying? So he's one of the top therapists in the state of Missouri. So
Okay.
I had an opportunity to vent and to get basically answer my own questions because a good therapist will have you answer your own questions,
Yep.
you know, and to see it from a from a bigger picture. Because a lot of times we see it in a tunnel vision, and a good
Mhm.
therapist will open it up for you so you can see the whole picture. So again, and I would suggest if you find a therapist who know how to open up, have good dialogue, and is relatable. My therapist had to be relatable. So you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying. So like
Yeah.
you just can't be a therapist from the suburbs and you never dealt with inner city youth before.
Yeah. Yeah. I
You know
get
what I'm
it.
saying?
Yeah.
Like you know what I'm saying. You have to have some reference besides a book.
Yeah.
Yep.
You have to know some other stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So a therapist is very important. The type of therapist is very important for a
Right.
person.
And I think what worked for Kevin was she was heavy trauma. The
Mm.
first one, she was just intrigued. Oh, 28 years? What does that look like? Da, da, da. He said she ain't gonna be here.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. For the sake of privacy, I'm not gonna post the questions. I'm just gonna read them because the name and as this go all, I don't want no problems for nobody. But it's something that once somebody said my husband's first year wasn't as challenging as these past 2 years have been of three been home of three complete defense regardless if wrong decision. And this is what I saw with the gentleman that I spoke with yesterday. When they tend to come home, they on this freedom high. This one guy told me, "Oh, Miss Brown, I thought you told me this was gonna be hard. How Miss Brown I got that?" 3 years later, he just crumbled. So some of them come home on a freedom high, and then when the responsibilities and the lives and all of this, they tend to not because they have not dealt with that, right? Then they tend to crumble. So anybody want to talk about that? But she said challenging at first, but then he changed. And I don't know what it is about that going into that third year. I've heard so many people say for the first 2 years he was just amazing. That was my story. Hey, first 2 years amazing. It was going into that third year. I say you changed it on me. So you guys want to speak to that? Why is it that you know?
We- for me, I would say because the first 2 years, usually the young lady is still in the honeymoon phase too, and got her heart glasses on, like the emoji. She got her heart glasses on, so she's not seeing that he really doesn't know how to be responsible when it comes to finances. He really don't know how to be responsible when it comes to watching the children. He really don't know how to be responsible for taking care of a household. He really don't know how to love. Stuff like that. Because we're just having fun those first 2 years. It's still that honeymoon stage. And then when when the chemical levels in our body, when you're happy, it tends to blind you, as you say, what I'm saying, blinded by love. So when
Mm.
it starts to level out and those glasses start to slide off, then you'd be like, wow, 2 years he hasn't done anything. 2 years he don't know what he's doing. So what is wrong with you? And this, that, another. And a lot of times we don't know how to manage money. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Most of us, like in Missouri, our state tip was 750, and it was 850 if you had a GED. So you know what I'm saying? So you got to manage 850 for a whole month. So now I get hundreds of dollars and maybe thousands of dollars in my pocket. Man, I'm finna wild out. I'm finna, I'm finna, you know what I'm saying? I get to go buy different tennis shoes. I don't have to buy these prison buddies. I don't have to buy no prison blues, no prison tennis shoes. Like, so again, once that honeymoon phase wear off, like a lot of people need financial literacy classes.
Mhm,
Hmm.
They need relationship classes. Like
mhm.
these things really need to be done because you think because we read Harlequin romances in prison. You see these movies on TV, and you think this is what I'm going to do. You're trying to mimic, trying to parakeet what you see on TV. But after a while, even the TV goes off. So so that stuff's going to go off too. So now you got to step out of the fantasy world into reality, and it's a hard switch because those letters, men, we can get. Oh man, we are masters with the pen. We know what to
Hmm.
say, how to say it. I could put my pen down in the pen, write you a letter itself. So you know what I'm saying? Because I know how to get my business. I know how to get my money on the books. So I'm gonna do the same thing I heard. Because really, you are a bird nest on the ground until I really find something else that I really want. So
That,
really, you really just a rest spot for me to find what I really want.
man, let me tell you this. Okay, so someone says it's good to hear real men when who are able to speak out to enlighten us. And let me tell y'all something. This is why I surround myself with these kind of experts. Because didn't nobody tell me nothing. Nothing. And this is why I share with you guys so that y'all can understand and get, see what you're dealing with, right? When I first started this in 2018, it's a lady said, man, I know. She said, I got my own trauma issues. She said, I know I can't deal with this. She said, I'm gracefully going to buy out of this. So you guys really need to understand. Please get it to see if you can deal with this. Let me see what somebody else says. Uh Now that, let me see what it says. I'm not trying. Now, if I put my glasses on, I might, I might see. That might be the problem. Lord, this is true. Don't know how to do anything right, and you can't tell them anything. Somebody says Ben blames us for not getting them there. Keep your mouth shut, and he will blow everything out of proportion. Therapists, classes, teaching. This sound like control coming from us as the women. Now let me ask you guys this: did they have like any mental health education classes inside? Anything like that?
They'd have the self-help groups and stuff. And I know before, I mean, I was a knucklehead a lot of the time I was in there, and I got some of my brothers in this feed too, I see. But they know me from in there. But yeah, I started going, I didn't care what it was. It was Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, like they were doing something positive. I just signed up and I go. But I mean, at the end of the day, I didn't have access to therapists, but I'll say just surrounding myself with other people that had done time and that were out doing anything positive, whether they were making it big or making it small, like that's what helped me go along. I do just want to say, because of some of these comments and talking about these relationships, one of my old bosses said this, and I remember I took offense when I heard it, and then when I thought about it, I was like, damn, that makes a lot of sense. So she said to someone else, and I was working my way up the corporate ladder, and she told this other vice president, she goes, look, I know you look at Tito and think he's this hungry, overachieving, and she's giving me stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, she's praising me. And then she goes, but he's not. He's a 40-year-old in front of you, but in reality, he's only like 20 something because he was in prison all those years. And I was like, did she just call me like a little boy who's immature and stuff? Like, and she was like, he doesn't have the maturity of the person you're looking at. And she was right, because, kind of to what Andrew was saying, like, you're gone 20 years and then you get this man out and you're expecting him to be his age, but free all his life. He ain't. He been inside. So you got to give him them 20 years that he lost. And then he's looking, and the reason why he did so good for 2 years, because he was hungry when he got out. He's programming like he was in prison, because we program if we want to be successful. You know that, Andy. And he's running a program, but he's also playing catch up with the guys who are his age who never had that disability of being locked up. And we're looking at them with the car and the house and going, I'm behind. No, you're not. You just need to build from where you at. And that's where we get caught up and go back to prison and screw up our relationships, whether they be with family, friends, or our significant others. And that's where I've seen my brothers and sisters like tear down the houses that they build in those first few years, because they just get caught up in that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to be someone that I'm just not today, but it's okay. Like,
Yeah,
I'll
see,
get
see,
there.
life,
Yeah.
right. On the outside, like I say, I went in at 17 and came out at 43. So I was there the rest of my teens, all my 20s, all my 30s, and part of my 40s. So now I get out, now I'm in this relationship, and now society, other society men are my measuring stick. Now I'm looking at other people who are 43, 44, 45, who are my peers, and I realize I don't measure up.
Wow.
So now when you ask me how I'm doing, guess what? I'm good. But I'm really tripping because I realize, like, damn, like he has this, or he's doing that. He's a grandfather, he's a husband, he's a good son. And I don't know
Hmm.
how to be, I don't know how to be any of those natural roles that we are called to do. I don't know how to be a good uncle. I don't know how to be a good sibling. I don't know how to be a good son. I don't know how to be a good grandson. So I damn sure don't know how to be a good man to this woman who is loving me.
Yep.
So
Wow.
now it's like, so that's why some people get those suicidal thoughts, because it's like, man, I'm nothing. Like
I'm
everything
nothing.
I'm doing is wrong. I can't do anything right.
Hmm.
Wow.
But
Wow.
I'm going to try to fake it till I make it, until
Yep.
something happens. Something either is going to break right or something going to break wrong.
Wow. 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 So I'm putting Kirk on the spot. You said you did 24 years prison leave scars. We need to have you on here to hear this. So I'll put you on the on the spot right here. So we need you as a guest. We need as many people who have been incarcerated to come and educate us. We do. Because these reentry programs, they ain't talking about the fam. They ain't not talking to the families and telling the families what
Nope.
they need to expect inside that prison. Nobody's talking about telling the educating the family, right? In April, when I spoke at the reentry conference in Florida, everybody was talking about the reentry programs and everybody was doing good. I came in there and disrupted. What about the families? Who's crying for the families? Because nobody was crying for me because didn't nobody know about it. Right? We need to be educated. This platform is not to alarm you, but to inform you. Right?
That's
I
real.
appreciate the Tito's. I appreciate the Andrew. I appreciate the Matakas. I appreciate the Kurtz. Right? Because they are the post incarceration syndrome experts,
Uh,
and
uh,
they're going to tell you. Oh, give me 1 second. They're
okay.
going to tell you some things your family members you will never know because your family member ain't finna come out here and expose all this here that all this good information we're getting. This is why I ask these guys to come here and educate us. Go ahead, Andrew.
Ms. Bruno, one of the things that I told, because I've had the opportunity to speak to some PNP, some probation and parole officers, and one of the things I told them, they asked me, like, do you think guys coming home should go straight to a home plan? Should they go into um, halfway houses? And a lot of people, a lot of my friends didn't like my answer. I said, I believe if they are in a relationship, they should go to a halfway house. And one of the things that should be mandatory is if they are going into a household with their significant other or wife or children, that they should, that probation and parole should make counseling, couple counseling mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that should be mandatory before that man or that woman goes into that house. Like you
Yeah,
say, who's looking out for the families? Cause the families, as soon as it, it's like a atomic bomb being dropped on his house, and they didn't even know where it was coming from. So I
yeah,
think therapy should be instituted before somebody's home plan is approved for them, or do it while they're incarcerated. If you give us the address and it's a family there, then okay, y'all need to have therapy need to go on, whether it's virtual, they can do it from in prison or whatever, they can do it. They should find a way for therapy to take place at least for 6 months before that individual comes home.
you know what? Before we end, because it was only supposed to be an hour, but this is some good conversation here. But one thing that really sticks to me, a book that I was reading, the think it's right here. But it's the effects of imprisonment. And one thing they said in this book that psychiatrists said, we failed, meaning them. They
Mhm.
said, we have failed. They said, when we go into the prison, when we're allowed to go into the prisons, it's only to interview someone who is on trial to see if they are competent enough to stand trial. But they say, as we go into the prisons and everything that we see, they say we fail when we fail to educate those inside about the psychological impact of incarceration. And that is my fight with reentry programs. That is my fight with prisons. And I feel like some of them do not want those on the inside to know about the effects of prison because it's a big business. If I tell you how to get well, you ain't coming back here. So I'm not going to tell you how to get well. This is why I say this is why I say, man, we have to continue to talk about this. And my thing is this, I'm getting in the prisons. I don't know how, but I'm going to get in those prisons and I'm going to tell these people what they need to expect when they come out of here. I am. We got to, y'all, because they're coming out to a whole new world. And I've had so many talk about suicide. And then this is my thing too. They say put him in an entrepreneurship program. Okay, okay. They put him in there. He went through there. He got the cap and gown. He got the certificate. And 3 weeks later, he takes the gun and he blows his heart out. So the entrepreneurship program ain't the answer. It's not. But if we give them a glimpse of what's to come, maybe then those on the inside will consider, man, look here, I gotta get myself together. I can't go out here like this. But if we don't never bring it to them, right? They gonna come out here and they're gonna be so blind. So blind, y'all. So this is why I do what I do. This is why I continue to do what I do. I don't care if I don't get invited to another speaking engagement. I speak right here, right? But we have to bring the awareness to the psychological impact of incarceration. We have to do it. So I want to say, Tito, you can sit here anytime. Anytime. Andrew, you already know you got a key. You can come anytime. But anybody who's out there who's listening and you have been to prison and you want to help to educate, just let me know. Let me know. And we're going to talk about this. And this is what I'm looking for. So we have our brothers that come home from prison. They willing to get on here and talk. I need some family members. I need you guys to come out of that chat room and say, Miss Bruno, I'll talk, and then we'll have a round table discussion. And you guys will get to talk to them face to face or video to video, however. But I need family members to come out of these closed doors. This is your life. This is your life, and there's no need to be embarrassed. It is what it is. And my thing is, embarrassment is a choice. Embarrassment is a choice. So we're gonna end. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I know we can talk about this forever. Tito, don't be no stranger. Andrew, you ain't gonna be no stranger. And guys, come on, let's just keep talking about this so that we can help. And so before I leave, before we end, Andrew, any important words, and then you, Tito, what is something that you may want, what is something you want to leave us with?
For me, I would just like to let everyone know is that don't blame yourself for loving who you love. Just get the information and make some more choices that'll be advantageous to you and your relationships. And one other thing, Ms. Bruno, let's get this national prison tour going. Let's get in these prisons.
We need to get there. I'm telling you, Mataka say he got a hookup in the Missouri prison. I said, okay, just let me know the date. Just let me know the date. I'm there. So we
Let's
need
get
to
there.
really have this conversation on the inside. You will be so surprised that guys how receptive that they would be. You know, like I said, putting my book in the prison and getting letters from the guys on the inside saying thank you. Now I understand, right? So we can't keep them in the dark. It's their lives, and their lives matter. So they have a right to know. And if we out here talking about it, you know how people say, "Oh, she was talking behind my back." Well, we talking behind their back. We talking behind their back. So yeah, we gonna get in those prisons. I don't know how yet, but we're gonna get in those prisons with this conversation. Tito, what you got for us?
Can y'all hear me? There we go. I'm just gonna say, my whole little movement on LinkedIn and my other social media is, be the change. Hashtag be the change. So whatever y'all is looking for to be different, be the person that you needed yesterday, today. Like, be the change. Like, I damn near put videos out every day about it, because I'm just that motivated to try to help other people out. And when it comes to, I keep this stuff close. When it comes to,
Right.
I got my prison IDs all right here on my desk, so I never forget where I came from. But
That's right.
it's there. There's always a way out, and there's always support. It's just sometimes we don't go looking for it, and sometimes we have to be the support and not just go looking for it. So, be the change, do that. And Miss Sheila, are you connected with Cardell Sims?
Yeah,
Okay, well, he's doing his little national prison tour, so
yeah,
y'all need to link up too. So
yeah. Yeah, I was
anyway,
expected to go in Florida, in the prison
okay,
system in Florida, and then they canceled the tour in Florida and some
yeah,
of the facilities. Yeah.
I'm waiting. He's supposed to be coming through here pretty soon, so I'm trying to piggyback with him. But yeah, y'all, just always have an open mind and understand that we all going through something, and we just got to be there for one another, because at the end of the day, we all human beings and we all got trauma. So be the change. That's all I got. And
I
I
love
thank
it.
you for giving me this opportunity too.
Oh, look at them anytime.
Don't
Anytime.
you? I will show up every time, so you better
Well,
stop.
you need to show up every time. Yeah, you need to show up. The more the merrier. You know, this platform here, it'll hold 8. I can have 8 people here. So you and look, is Kirk your friend? Kirk in
No,
the
no,
Okay, I
no.
don't know who Kirk is, but me, you, and Kirk and Andrew and Matapa, yeah, we're gonna keep talking about this. And I think the next time when we talk about it, we talked about the love and the relationship thing. I really wanted people to really understand arrested development.
Yes.
Yes.
I really want them to get the arrested development piece. So that might be the topic for next month. So guys, we're gonna get out of here. I hope that something was said to enlighten you, uh, 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 to educate you and encourage you too, right? Because this is what it's all about. You guys being uh, enlightened and encouraged and even empowered. So we're going to sign out. Thank y'all for signing in. Thank you for sharing this platform. And good night. I love you guys.
I thank
All
you.
right.
Have a good
All right.
night.
Good night.